So Steve, I think that people think it's like super tough to get a loan and a huge process.
No, it is a process, and
it is necessary.
And it is necessary, and there's some work involved. So there is some effort to be involved. I mean, there's basically 5 pretty simple steps to getting pre-approved.
And I think when we talk about like the entire approval process, a lot of the work is going to come later, right? In providing some docs that may be needed down the road, finding some other stuff, but that initial pre-approval.
The initial pre-approval, right? Like I said, there's basic 5 steps to becoming fully pre-approved to buy a home or even refinance. So, I mean, step 1 is the initial consult or conversation.
Talk to you.
And then honestly, this is going to allow you and the home finance professional, myself, to discuss the process with you, answer any questions that you have, and just get some general information as to what documents you may need to provide up front so that we can get you a solid pre-approval. So again, it's really just a 15 to 20 minute conversation should be the first step in getting pre-approved. Second step is going to be completing the application. And that can be done in most cases nowadays. A lot of the banks, lenders, ourselves included, have online application sites. We have app links. You can go to the websites, or you could just call me and I'll just do it over the phone with you. And that's eligible as well. And then it's that collection of those initial documents that we ask for. And they're pretty basic documents. I don't know if you want me to go through that list as well.
Yeah, what do we got?
I mean, basically you're really going to need 2 years of income, W-2s or tax returns depending on your job. And again, that's part of that initial discussion.
And that's W-2s or tax returns in most cases. Yeah,
exactly. Pay stubs, recent pay stubs, and then bank statements, checking and/or savings.
Now those are so tough to get nowadays.
And a lot of this, the beauty
of just log into the bank, you can make a PDF of it. You don't even have. I know a lot of people are on paperless with their banks, so they don't even have the statements. But you could just log into the bank.
You can log into the bank, and a lot of the application sites that are out there now, especially if you do online banking, you have your own secured online account. You can actually log into your account and the bank will send us digitally to the lender your bank information, exactly what we need. So you don't have to go get PDFs. And then there are some employers that we can actually digitally verify your income as well. So it becomes very simple, but those are the basic documents. 2 years of income history, W-2s or tax returns, a couple months of bank statements, a government issued ID. Because of the Patriot Act, we need to get that to verify.
So we need to know that you exist, and
that's it.
You have gotten paid, and you are currently getting paid.
Absolutely, and the application sites they're step by step. They take you through what information needs to be: name, address, social security number, phone number, email address to best contact you. It's really kind of dummy proof. In most cases, where it's going to walk you through.
Some cases, that's a good idea.
It is, and again, when you get stuck, the best thing to do is just if you get stuck, I should say, is to reach out to someone like myself and just get your question answered to move on. And don't worry, because usually the initial application, people feel that they need to get every T crossed, every I dotted, and I think you just mentioned it. It's just the initial application. Yeah. Things can be corrected, things can be modified. It's not the final.
Some questions will come up later. An underwriter may say, well, we need more documentation on this. This is not the stuff that we have to do in that beginning stage.
No. And so that takes you to the third step. So once you've done the initial application and provided the initial documents, you should have another conversation, whether it's through text, email, or phone call, with the loan officer or home mortgage professional. And they'll fill in any blanks that you have. I mean, I'm going to walk you through and say, hey, you missed, I need a 2-year work history, I need a 2-year residence history. Hey, you mentioned that you get commission income. All those things, so any additional things that you may have to provide, we can talk about it then. So that's typically the third step. So you have an initial conversation, initial application, a follow-up conversation, and then the next step is for me or your loan officer to submit that application for an underwriting approval. like.
Okay.
A lot of times it's going to go through the systems of automated underwriting, the AUS systems, to just kind of get feedback of what may be required. Some institutions or lenders like ourselves at Cross Country Mortgage, we actually submit it to an individual so they can double check my work and what I've come up with.
And I love that approach because it's got a pair of eyes. You know, some things that might be red flags might be dealt with at the beginning versus right in the middle of the transaction.
Absolutely. Any questions that we feel may be deal killers can be caught up front, and then we can either explain it away or get the documentation, so then that way we can move forward to step 5, which is the issuance of that pre-qualification letter that realtors require.
Yeah, and in Arizona, it needs to be specific.
Yes.
It's going to tell sellers, hey, this is a great buyer. This is something that we can go in escrow with a good solid plan for coming out of escrow.
Out of escrow.
On the other side.
It's
got a lot of boxes checked. We all know what it means on everything in there, so we want to make sure we get that Arizona pre-qualification.
Absolutely, and I don't know, it's required in a lot of cases.
Yes, and really, you know, could we get around it? Yeah, but we want sellers to accept the buyer's offer as it is, and the best way to do that is to put your best foot forward with that Arizona pre-qualification form with everything all taken care of. And
a lot of this can, and I will tell people, you know, because they're like, wow, those steps, it seems like a lot, you know, 3 conversations and filling out an application. A lot of this can be done within 2 business days.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's that preparedness. So having that initial conversation so you know what to collect, and maybe taking a day or so to do it and then fill out the application is going to just set you up for that ultimate success at the end. And, you know, usually it's the collection of documentation that takes the most time in a buyer situation.
Now, a couple misconceptions that people have. I think people think that, boy, I need to make sure everything's as current can be, so I should do this right when I fall in love with a house.
No. No, absolutely not. You can, but then again, you may take yourself out of the market. That home may
you might bite through all of your fingernails and just stress out. There's a way to go through this with less stress, and that's just getting started on this super early. And in fact, I've had a lot of buyers that have done it super early, have found some things that might have been on their credit that we're able to work ahead of time, get those taken off, and they're in a much more favorable situation when it comes time to actually offering. They get a lower interest rate, their credit's in better condition, and less underwriting issues coming along, and so there's no real time frame like, boy, it has to be within 3 months. No, we could do it earlier. Now, there is a limit for how long that pre-qualification lasts.
Absolutely, and that's typically due to credit. So a pre-approval, that qualification is good for, depending on program, 90 days or 120 days. So 3 or 4 months. So if you know that you're going to be in the market, or you're like, you know what, we really want to be into our own place by March, now would be the time to get started on it. So all the reasons you just mentioned.
But even if it's later and you just want to make sure all your ducks are in a row, it's not that difficult then to go back and go, oh, we're at the end of our pre-qualification. Let's get this extended.
Sure.
You're getting maybe some more documentation seen.
We get to the 91st day, it's expired. It doesn't mean that it's no good. Really, it's just a reissuance of credit, so we can re-verify you didn't go out and buy some new cars.
8 couches.
Buy 8 couches. Oh, you don't have a house yet. You don't need 8 couches.
Well, they're loading them up and
I got it.
Storage.
I got it. So again, it's a repull of credit, and then just reconfirmation of, you know, the income that we had verified initially, any of the assets. Had anything changed in that 3-month window? So that's ultimately it. Again, it's not difficult. It'll set you up for success. It's going to put you ahead of a lot of buyers out there that haven't taken these steps to become pre-approved or pre-qualified. And that's ultimately what we want. We want to get people to be successful. If you fall in love with a house, we want you to get it. That's ultimately the goal, or at least put you in the best chance to get it. One warning I will have, and I think we're going to put that link with the video, when you do get your credit pulled, there is something out there called a trigger lead. And there are a lot of lenders out there, especially in today's market, with refinance business dropping over 85% from last year, that buy these trigger leads. And what that means...
So there might be some telemarketers.
Might be.
But you have a hack.
We do have a hack. Yeah, and I want to prevent people from that. There's basically, it's optoutprescreen.com, and we'll have the link to it. You can go in, you fill out. It might seem intimidating because it's going to ask you for name, social security number, and your date of birth. But this is a site that was set up. The federal government required it so that people can opt out from being subject to this telemarketing. And just one story, had a VA buyer that didn't fill out the opt-out, and it's okay, it happens, but she and her husband within a 72-hour period received almost 120 different calls, text, or emails from other lenders trying to capture their business.
It's a few calls.
It's a few calls, yeah. So anyways, it's definitely something to do, to consider before you get your credit pulled. And there's other things that we can do on our end as well to prevent that. So
that's a great hack. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is you can email me at steve.farrington@ccm.com, or you can just give me a call, 480-215-5590.
Thanks, Steve.
You bet, brother. Take care.